HC Nation, to another Minisode Monday. And I just have to say something. The Martians are coming! Orson Welles created the War of the Worlds on October 30th, 1938, and freaked out all of New York and New Jersey so much that they overwhelmed the police dispatchers, calling 911, calling the police station, calling friends and family to run for the hills. The Martians are coming. Wow, he caused such a huge stir because it was so realistic. And then he created after that Citizen Kane, which is also a movie on corruption, which a lot of people try to stop. And yet Orson Welles, 23 years old, decided, no, I came here to Hollywood to make a difference. And boy, did he. So two big things he did. But today, October 30th, was the day that the War of the Worlds was produced on live radio and freaked out two whole states, and actually a lot more. But mainly New Jersey and New York. They were scared. Okay, so let's go to October 31st. This is also big because this is the day that Martin Luther nailed his 95 Theses to the church door in Wittenberg, which started, or didn't start, but really perpetuated and made the Reformation really happen. That was where a lot of people say a lot of it began. So thank you, Martin Luther, for just opening up our minds. Whether you're Catholic, whether you're Protestant, whether you're whatever you are, this is what opened up people's minds up to really thinking for themselves and diving into the scriptures. And with that, diving into the Bible, Old Testament, New Testament, doesn't matter, diving into your beliefs and really thinking for yourself was so important. So thank you, Martin Luther, John Calvin. We have all these people in our decks, because whether you agree with them or don't agree with them, they made so much difference. And today we can think more for ourselves because we have people like this. Not just Martin Luther, but what about Martin Luther King? Thanks to him, we can think for ourselves beyond the cultural norms. And we can be individuals. Okay, we're going to November now, still this week. This is really cool because 1961, again, November 1st, is when the de-Stalinization of Russia started, which means his body was taken out of the, what do you call them? Mausoleum in Red Square, was taken out and removed because they wanted to get rid of the Stalinization of the country. They also turned Stalingrad, a city named after him, and changed that name to Volgograd. Something similar to that. Really big for Russia. Such a big difference for the country. Getting rid of the Communist Party and also de-Stalinization. What did I say? Oh, okay, so sorry. I think it was the Communist Party that did that. But taking Stalin out, he was a mass murderer. So getting him out of there, that was a great step. Now, if we could just get communism out of there, there you go. There's another step. Just saying. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. Okay, November 2nd. This is also big. Have you ever heard of the Spruce Goose? Largest wooden aircraft to ever be created. It had 8 engines on it. It had a wingspan of 319 feet. This thing was huge. It sat 700 people. That's a lot of people. And it cost, for 5 years of building it, it cost $40 million. 1947. That's a lot of money back then. Now is the thing. I mean, I spoke out against the Opera House, which cost $100 million to build, right? Because that was a government that had it, taxing the people to get that money. This was an individual. Howard Hughes created this with his own money. So it's his own aspect. That's his own life. But that's really big. Now, October 3rd You remember in our decks we have Leica the dog as the only, well, actually the only animal right now, but also the only explorer who's an animal. A dog is an explorer? Yeah, because he was the first dog in space. So this was actually the second Soviet satellite or satellite-esque thing being sent up into space, which had Leica the dog on board. And it actually took him a long time to resettle his, or to decrease his cardio and respiratory rate. But interesting enough, they sent him up into space. They can never bring him back down into space. So I don't know, probably Sputnik number 2 came down. I don't know, maybe I have to do a little more research. Maybe you can do some research. But if it hasn't come down, there's probably a body of a dog floating in space inside of Sputnik 2. Just saying. It's an interesting burial ground. It also means that dog would have to starved up there. How sad is that? November 4th will always be known, and whether you agree on it or not, will always be known as a historic day, because it was the day the U.S. elected their first African-American president. But at the same time, it is also a day when, for those that are on the other side of the aisle, Ronald Reagan was also elected president. But a historic day nonetheless, because this was the day that we had an African American become the president of the United States. So it was a great day for America. Now, and that was 2008. Ronald Reagan was 1980. So a big difference of dates. But a day to celebrate for different things, whichever side of the aisle you're at. Okay, November 5th. Again, this is Sunday, so this is the last one for the day. This was interesting because this is a plot to blow up the parliament. So, interesting enough, this was a group of Catholic rebels, people that were with the Catholic Church but not formed by the Catholic Church, decided that they're going to blow up the parliament, including the king and everybody of the lords and ladies of the court. And this was actually done by Guy Fawkes. Sorry, Guy Fawkes. Now, if you haven't read about him, he's actually a new card in the Vesuvius deck. He came in, buried in from another house that was next to another building that was right next to the parliament, buried into the cellar, and set up piles of wood, which they actually allowed because they thought it was for somebody, one of the lords, to be stored in the cellar. Then come to find out, because Guy had actually sent a letter to someone saying, stay away from Parliament that day. And actually told a little bit of an explosion that might happen. So he said, stay away. Well, that person turned in that letter, and they investigated. Come to find out, under all that wood that he had set up was also 36 barrels of gunpowder. And so, that was on a Friday. Saturday, when Guy came back, they were waiting for him. If you have any comments or questions, add them to the comments below. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow actually. Take care. Bye.